Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Enzo Maresca joins a management agency, and in his pre-match press conference, he talks about Jorrel Hato, Josh Ashingpong, Tosin, the striker situation, what he's trying to do to improve the red card crisis, and gives a huge injury update regarding Enzo Fernandez and Liam Delap. But not only that, we're going to be predicting Chelsea's starting 11 to face Ajax tomorrow night in the Champions League. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k subscribers by the end of 2025. You can also use the hype button, which is a new YouTube feature which helps push this video out to a bigger audience. Kicking things off, Matt Law has reported that Enzo Maresca has joined Jorge Mendes' agency as he attempts to prove himself among the top coaches in European football. Chelsea this season reiterated their support for Enzo Maresca and plan to leave any assessment of his performance until the end of the season, which was always the idea after they first appointed him last summer. Now, I just want to touch on this briefly. I don't want to spend too long on this because you can look at this in two different ways. This is either Enzo Maresca planning for his exit, or it's Enzo Maresca just trying to be prepared full stop. And I personally believe it's the latter. It's him just trying to be prepared because he is a top coach in European football, whether you like that or not. I feel like he's done wonders with this Chelsea team, especially in that first season. We get 2 trophies. He stables the ship. He sets solid foundations. And this season, we're really trying to kick on and improve on that. And I feel like we are getting the results, even though we're playing poor in some games and amazing in others. We do have a lot of injuries. That is a big factor, whether you like it or not. And I feel like this isn't Enzo Maresca's way of trying to escape Chelsea. I feel like he genuinely loves his job. At least that's how it comes across. He's passionate about football. He lives and breathes it. And the players would run through brick walls for him. He's doing wonders in terms of player development and also sort of man management and managing minutes and injuries of players. I mean, you look at Reece James as an example of how well he's done that. He's trying to do the same with Romeo Lavia, slightly different situation. He's trying to do the same with Badiashile, Fofana and all these other players that are very injury prone. And I feel like he's just done a very good job. Now, Jorge Mendes is like a super agent. Obviously, he has his own agency which covers players and obviously managers and loads of people around the globe. And, you know, automatically when you see Jorge Mendes linked an agency with one of your players or with one of your managers, you automatically think, they're going to try and force a move away and try and, you know, move clubs essentially. I don't think this is the issue with Enzo Maresca. Like I said, I feel like he is just preparing. Chelsea have been very open, very honest, very transparent. They're going to be giving him an end of season review after year 2, which is the end of this season. They've always said that. They've never backed down from it. And I don't feel like this is warning signs, which it could be spun into, and some people are probably thinking of it that way. At least right now, you know, obviously things can change. He could, you know, not meet the requirements that Chelsea want him to, and he could be going at the end of the season. But I personally, as of right now, I just don't see that happening. I feel like he is the manager to stay with us for a long period of time. He is the manager to kind of get us going up level by level. You know, he even said multiple times at this time last season that we were a year ahead of schedule. So I feel like he's in a very good position. Obviously, results reflect his job. If he gets a very, very poor run of results for a long period of time, then he is out the door. We're at Chelsea Football Club. That's just what happens. But in terms of where we are right now, what he's achieved last season, I feel like he's in a very good position to keep that job. He was signed like a 5-year deal, or I think it ends in 2029, but Chelsea have the option to extend it an extra year if they want to. So essentially a 6-year deal on top of a season that he's already done, already completed. It's all down to Enzo Maresca and the club, really. If they're happy with his performances, I'm sure that Enzo would like to stay. And I don't want to read into this too much. I just kind of wanted to react to it, give my thoughts and opinions. I don't think there's anything to be worried about as of right now. These types of things happen a lot. We had it recently with Caicedo, where he dropped his agents to kind of have his family kind of help with his career moves. Doesn't mean that he wants to move away from Chelsea. Chelsea are very quick to come out and say he's very happy here and, you know, he's under a long contract, etc. And they're just doing the same thing here with Enzo Maresca. I don't think he's trying to force a way out. I don't really see him getting sacked unless this season collapses underneath him. I feel like he will be with us for a long period of time. Whether he sees the full contract out or not is obviously going to be a different matter because Chelsea historically haven't given a manager a full term of whatever they've originally offered. So it'll be very interesting. Well, I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Enzo Maresca's situation of joining this agency. Do you think he's trying to force a way out at the end of the season? Do you think he's had enough? Do you think he wants to go somewhere else? We know that Juventus are keeping an eye from a distance of Enzo Maresca and they appreciate his coaching abilities. Do you think that could be the move in the summer if this season doesn't go well? Or do you feel like Chelsea are going to stick it out of Enzo Maresca regardless of this news? Bobby Vincent has reported what Enzo Maresca said on the discipline problem. He said, for sure, it's something we can do better. Some of the red cards, we can avoid that. I think the Malo one is avoidable because the game is almost finished. The other side, they do not want to concede and they want to continue to be aggressive. It's something we can improve. Personally, I'm not that kind of manager to punish players. In my view, I don't think it's the right way to do things. I prefer to help them understand and then from there do the right things. It depends. They are different kinds of red cards. He goes on to say why he doesn't like punishing players. He says, I have 4 kids and when they do something wrong, I do not punish them. I try to teach them to do the right things. I try to do this with the players too. This is the way that I like to do things. He goes on to talk about what he's doing to improve and he says, Malo red card, we can avoid that. João red card, we can probably avoid that. You can all avoid, but at the same time, if you see Trevor's red card, you can allow him to shoot and then we'll see. Manchester United, it's exactly the same. The last one, I think, is a huge mistake. The game was finished and it was 3-0. They were shouting at each other to not concede. They wanted to continue and to be intense and aggressive. Now, I really like this approach from Enzo Maresca personally because he's obviously addressing there is a discipline issue. There has to be a discipline issue because the amount of red cards we're stacking up, even needless yellow cards, but that's kind of been there for a lot of years prior to Enzo and obviously under Enzo too. I think that's just a Chelsea thing. Unnecessary bookings, they seem to be silly. But when it comes to the red cards, I totally agree. The Malo red card, definitely avoid. João Pedro, yeah, we can avoid that. It's just unlucky. It's the reaction of the player, in my opinion, that sells that second yellow because there was actually no contact. Trevor Chalobah and the United game, 100%, just don't make the challenges. I'd rather concede and still have 11 men on the pitch. I'm totally with Enzo on that, if I'm being honest. It's interesting to see his point of view in terms of punishing players, right? Because he brings his kids into it, and as a parent, I can kind of relate to that. I don't want to tell my little girl off for doing stuff when it's over the top and unnecessary. I want to teach her and show her and get her to understand things, so I can relate in that sense. I just hope it doesn't come across patronizing to the players, and I don't think it will. Maybe it's just the way that people are going to interpret this, but I like the approach of well, what's the point of having a go at them and just saying just don't do it again. Get them to understand why they're in the wrong and what they need to do to improve, because that's going to have a long-term benefit. Now, there has to be a balance. I feel like there are certain situations where you do just need to give them the hairdryer treatment, because sometimes you just need that shock to be all right, cool, accountability is a thing. I messed up. It is what it is. And we know that through history, we've had Jose Mourinho, Alex Ferguson, renowned for their hairdryer treatments in certain scenarios. And I think there is a time and a place. But I do agree with the sentiment that, if you can, it's better for you to teach them and get them to understand what you would rather them do or what's better for the team rather than, just being you messed up, it's all your fault. I think that can be beneficial for the team going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how it stops, because it has to stop at some point. We can't just keep getting red cards every game. Or can we? I don't know. Can we do that? Is that sustainable for an entire season alongside all the injuries that we have? I don't think so. Plus, I just don't want to see our players getting sent off every game. It just seems to be silly. So yeah, I agree with what Enzo Maresca is saying. It's a very different approach from what you would hear from some other managers. I'm sure a few other managers would be yeah, hairdryer treatment, because what are you doing? It's just dumb. Stop doing silly things to get sent off. The Malo one for me is probably the most ridiculous of them all, because we were 3-0 up. The player was actually going... I rewatched it after yesterday's video, and yeah, the player was going away from goal. There was no threat at all. They were trying to, as Enzo said, just keep the intensity up and try and push, and Malo just made a silly challenge. I know Reece James also commented saying it was a split-second thing. I get that, but it's just no need to make a challenge in that position at all. So yeah, totally avoidable. And again, I don't want to keep going on, but I do actually really agree with what Enzo Maresca said. And I find it very interesting, his approach for not punishing players. But I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Will Chelsea eventually stop this discipline problem? How do you think that is going to come about? Is it going to be individuals taking accountability, or will it be more Enzo's coaching on how to coach it out of them across the season? Enzo Maresca then speaks on Reece James's leadership, and he says it's much better compared to 1 year ago. After 1 or 2 months, we tried to do better. Reece can improve a lot, and we are very happy with Reece. He then speaks about Tosin being a leader, and he says even if Tosin is still very young compared to his teammates, no, but 28 is still young. He's been a leader since he arrived here. We have more players like him in terms of leadership. There are things in terms of fines, the players take control inside of the changing room. Now, he did go on to say that with the red cards and the fining system, there is one set up in the dressing room. It'll be very interesting to see what that looks like. I know that Lampard's was leaked a few years ago in terms of the fining system of being late to meetings and red cards, etc. So I'm just genuinely curious to see what that looks like. But I really like this from Enzo as well, because when you really deep it, there is quite a few players now this season at this stage that I would consider leaders with it, like behind the scenes or within the dressing room. The players like Enzo Fernandez, many players have come out and said that behind the scenes he's a pillar of Cobham. He's a pillar of that Chelsea squad and that changing room. And you can see that. He's very passionate. He's aggressive on the pitch. He really just wants the best. He gets frustrated when things don't go his way, which can come across as like childish at times, but I think it's just pure passion because he wants us to do well. Reece James, obviously, I totally agree with Enzo. Even from the lens of what we get and what we see on the pitch, he's definitely come out of his shell a lot more. He's definitely doing more leadership things, and not that he wasn't doing them before, but I kind of look back to what Enzo Maresca said, that he's kind of within himself. We know that he's not like a big loud type of guy, but we're seeing more and more of that of him when it's needed. You know, there's an incident or a moment where Reece James and Enzo share after we score a goal, and they're like headbutting each other, like they're just proper like locked in, you know. And there's just other things about Reece James that, you know, I think he took that criticism well, didn't take it personally, and then has actually grown, and we can just see more of that from him, which is fantastic. Tosin's an interesting one for me because they call him Unk because he's 28, which is wild, by the way. But obviously, of course, the rest of the squad are very, very young. I'm glad that players like that are, you know, in and around that changing room, in and around that leadership roles, of just setting the example and making sure we train right, making sure we have the right attitudes. You know, I just love that. You look at the other players in the squad, I'd say, and again, this is from the outside looking in. I'd love to know your thoughts down below, who you think are leaders within the squad. I would say Caicedo leads by example. Again, he might not be very loud as a person, but I bet he trains better than anyone. I bet he's the first one in, last one out, that type of player. You look at the likes of Cucurella stepping up. I know he's a jokester, a prankster, but I bet he trains well, and I bet he's one of the better trainers because of how good he is consistently. Obviously, Tosin, Reece James, Enzo Fernandez. I think we have got a sprinkle of them, which we just haven't had in the last few years. And these are players that have grown into the role rather than just, you know, buying someone of experience, buying someone of with captaincy, and buying someone of that like sort of that role. We've kind of developed our own over the last couple of seasons under this new ownership. Obviously, Reece James has always been that character, and he's been there his whole life, so we know that. But in terms of the other players within the squad, you know, like Enzo Fernandez speaks about the vice captaincy. You know, he holds it dear to him, and he said many times in interviews that, you know, there's something that's expected of him, and he has to step up and do these things. And I really like that. Players just taking pride, you know. And there may be some players I missed, but I'd love to know your thoughts down below regarding that. How many leaders do you think there are within the squad? Whether or not we can see it, or what your views of it are from the outside looking in, because I like hearing things like this about Tosin and other players, as well as Reece James. Enzo Maresca then talks on multiple injuries. He says it's difficult, especially because most of the injuries we had were 1 or 2 days before the game. We are trying to adapt. It's complicated because sometimes you plan for some players to play 1 week, but then you need that player because of another injury. This is quite interesting, and I kind of feel for him in a sense, because yes, we've got that squad. Yes, we've got injury-prone players. Yes, we have so many injuries right now. It just must be hard, because we're basically fielding a different 11 every week based on who's available. And I can imagine for Enzo, it's a bit of a headache of going, right, we're playing Ajax, and I want this person on the left-hand side and this person playing in the 6. And then a few days before, they're like, yeah, boss, I can't play. And he's like, great, I now need to kind of reconfigure what we're going to do and still perform in the way that I want them to perform. And, you know, be able to deliver that game plan. Now, I get that that's his job. He's a manager, right? You manage situations. But the amount of injuries we've got and things like that, and then also the suspensions on top of it with all the red cards, he must be like, yo, can I just have a normal week at Chelsea, please, where I can field an 11 that I just feel really comfortable with, that is going to go and do the job that I want them to do. So it's very interesting. I'm very curious to know if our injuries are going to slow up out as the season goes, because what we're going through right now, is this a knock-on effect from the Club World Cup and the limited rest and the limited pre-season? Or are we yet to see that? Are we yet to see, you know, how that domino effect later on in the season? I'd like to feel like what we're going through right now in terms of injuries is that knock-on effect of the immediate no rest, and we're using international breaks and things like that, time to recover, and we're still getting by without the likes of Cole Palmer, which is wild because he is our best player alongside Caicedo. You know, we managed to get over the line, you know, in that Forest game, show some resilience without Caicedo. We bring him on, it changes things. There are a lot of other players we've not had Delap, which we're going to speak about a little bit later in the video, and Enzo Fernandez as well. You know, players in certain positions that have to kind of be, you know, square pegs in round holes type thing, but we're still getting results. So, you know, it works when it works. If it doesn't, we then start pointing fingers. But I'll be very curious to know your thoughts around the injuries. Do you think it's going to get better before it get worse, or do you think that this is the worst it's going to get? Obviously, losing Levi Colwill was huge, and having the injury-prone players that we're already aware of, right? So we're already aware of that, and Enzo's obviously already aware of that as well, and having that own rotation on top of the suspensions must just be a headache for him. Enzo Maresca then speaks on Hato's progression. He says, "We are very happy with Jorrel since he arrived. He's trying to adapt to English football. We are very happy with him. The first 2 or 3 weeks, he struggled with the physicality and the intensity, but he is getting better and better. I think he can play both. He's a very good player, and he can be a central defender or a fullback, a midfielder in the attacking phase. He can play in different positions." Jorrel Hato is one of those signings that I've been most excited about this season, and I'm more than happy to give him time because this guy is incredible. He's so good, and all you have to do is watch what he was doing at Ajax. When he's comfortable, settled in, and understands exactly what he's got to be doing, and he's up to the physicality, he's up to the intensity of the league. This guy is a baller. Like, he just is. I'm so happy that we signed him because we saw glimpses of it in the Liverpool game when he came on playing at left-sided centre-back. There was a situation where there was 3 players around him. I thought, well, you're just going to lose possession. And he dribbles his way out of it and then drives the ball forward. And I'm like, wow, where's that come from? That's the type of thing that we weren't expecting, but we love to see from someone like Jorrel Hato. And I feel like we've said this a few times. We want to see him play. We know how good he is, but he has to adapt to the physicality. He has to adapt to the intensity. After that Lincoln game, Gusto and Hato are like, I've never seen football like it. I've never played against a team that plays football like that. And again, it's just these little things. Obviously, the Premier League is the most intense and most physical league in the world. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of time. He is only 19 years old. So we can't just chuck him in that back line and go, concede less than 15 goals this season, because it's just not going to happen, right? So I feel very confident with Jorrel Hato. I'm glad that the club are impressed. I'm glad that Enzo's impressed with him because, obviously we're playing Ajax tomorrow night. Will he play? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll soon see what Enzo decides to do with the lineup. We'll go over the predicted 11 a little bit later in this video. But I'm just happy that Chelsea are happy with him because I feel like he is going to kick on and really do something. I think he's going to be a very key defender for us, whether it is as a rotation player on the left, as the left back for Cucurella, or as a centre back, because as Enzo says, he can even go and invert in that midfield in the attacking phase, which will be very good because seeing his ball carrying skills and his passing range is great. So I'm just excited to see more of Jorrel Hato. Enzo Maresca then speaks on Marc Guiu and he says, "We trust Marc. We trust him last year. He was playing in the Conference League. We gave him some Premier League games. He will play games for us for sure." He then goes on to talk about the strikers versus Ajax and he says, "We have him and Tyreek. He can play as a number 9. We have different options. We will see after the session this afternoon." Now, I speak for most Chelsea fans. I'm not speaking for every single one, all right? But for most Chelsea fans, please play Marc Guiu. This guy is a bulldog. We've got him now. We recalled him from loan. Please utilise him. He made such a difference against Forest. He is a natural 9. I don't want to be seeing Tyreek George starting as a 9 in the Champions League against Ajax at home. I just don't want to be seeing that. And it's no shade to Tyreek George. But if you're going to use him for what he's good at, as a left winger. Do you know how insulting it is to play a natural number 9 on the bench over a winger who's being forced to play as a 9 or a false 9 or whatever, just playing centrally? What? Use Marc Guiu. He is ready. In my opinion, he is ready. He does need game time. He's not perfect. He's not going to smash 40 goals this season. Of course not. But this guy is a bulldog. He's great in the press. He's aggressive in the way he's playing. If he gets an opportunity, he'll probably take it. And if he doesn't, he'll keep going. He'll pick himself up and keep going. I really like Marc Guiu. We saw such a massive impact against Nottingham Forest. That has to be a wake-up call from Maresca. Because I don't see Tyreek George going on that pitch and doing the same role. Because Tyreek George is not naturally a number 9. He is a winger. So if you're going to play him out wide. Do you know what I mean? I've got no issue with that. But in my opinion, you've got to play Marc Guiu. He's fantastic. We've got him for the season. Give him the minutes. He does say that he trusts him. He played in the Conference League. He's going to play Prem games. He's going to play games for us. This is a massive opportunity for him. At the Bridge, at home, against Ajax in the Champions League, can he step up? Because obviously we've got no João Pedro who can play 9, but I personally feel like he plays better as a 10 because of the suspension from the previous game and that silly red card, or 2 yellows. So we are limited with options in that sense. Please play Marc Guiu. That's all I'm saying. But I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Who would you rather play as a number 9 against Ajax? Would it be Tyreek George or Marc Guiu? Enzo Maresca then speaks on Enzo Fernandez's injury and he says, "Enzo took part in the session yesterday. We had one more session this afternoon and we will decide with him tomorrow. It's not something we have to be worried about. It's to try and protect Enzo." He then goes on to give a huge injury update regarding Liam Delap's return. He says Liam is very close. He is not working with us yet. He is still out. Hopefully in the next days he can start training with us. This is huge news for both players. I really like Enzo Fernandez, and the fact that he's going to be coming back is a big boost for our midfield. It means we don't have to rely on players like Andre Santos or Buonanotte. We have the option of Enzo Fernandez, and when he's partnered with someone like Caicedo, We just know how good that partnership is. And that's no shade on the other players. I still want to see them get minutes. They will get minutes this season. But I just miss seeing Enzo Fernandez in the last few games that he's not been playing. Because I just really like him as a player. It could just be me. But, you know, here we are. When it comes to Liam Delap, this is huge. He's very close to returning. I am so excited for Liam Delap to play in an Enzo Maresca system consistently because I tell you what, in the last few games that he's missed, well, a handful of games that he's missed, I feel like he could have made a real impact with his style of play and his profile, stretching defenses, maybe getting himself some goals, definitely getting some assists with the type of player that he is. I know it's not really his game, he's mainly a goal scorer, but we've seen how he can help the team in terms of assisting output in the games that he's played in the Club World Cup and obviously the few in the Premier League. It depends who we are playing. Massively. I think he would have been incredible against Nottingham Forest. Back five, he is the type of player you put 3 centre-backs on, and his job is to try and stretch the play for the 10s in behind, the wingers coming inside. He would have been fantastic. So I'm really, really happy that Delap is very, very close to returning, and I'm also very happy that Enzo Fernandez could potentially play for Ajax. I would personally say if he's not quite ready, don't play him. Leave it for the next Premier League game, which I believe is Sunderland. Could be wrong. Let me know if I am in the comments. But Liam Delap, this is huge news. I got really excited when we signed Delap. I'm a big fan. He's not the player that's going to come in and score 40 goals in a season, but he can do some real damage to the opposition, the way that Enzo plays and the system that we play. And him being fully fit is just a huge bonus for Chelsea, in my opinion. So I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Liam Delap's return. Are you excited for him to come back? Do you feel like he makes a big improvement in our striking position? Would you rather Marc Guiu get some more opportunities over Delap in this absence? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. So let's predict this Chelsea starting 11 to face Ajax tomorrow night at Stamford Bridge in the Champions League. European nights under the lights is going to be one to watch. Now, let's start off with the goalkeeper. I'm going to go with Sanchez. I don't think Jorgensen has an opportunity to be playing in this type of game. Obviously, Sanchez is our number one goalkeeper. And regardless of what we say, a lot of Chelsea fans still blind or in denial to say that he has improved because he has improved. Shot stopping we know he's good at. Long distribution is a lot better than his short distribution, but even so, it has generally got better. So hopefully no silly mistakes for him, of course, because that can crop up from time to time, like we saw at the United game. So hopefully he can just chill out and have a decent game. Left back, I feel like it's going to be Cucurella. I don't think Hato is going to get the start over him. Again, could be horribly wrong. Depends whether Maresca feels he's good enough mentally and physically and football ability-wise. Is he at the level to face his former club at Stamford Bridge? It would be absolute limbs if he did, to be fair. Now, when it comes to the centre-back partnership, I want the same partnership as what I saw at Nottingham Forest. So I'm going to go with Chalobah on that left-hand side. And then I'm also going to go with Acheampong. Because if I'm being honest, you need to reward performances. He was fantastic. And for me, it has to go on merit. He was amazing. Let him continue to play. That's just my opinion. Right back, it's got to be Mr. Reece James, in my opinion. Put Reece in there. Get Reece James as the right back. Again, unbelievable. We saw him play right back. We saw Gusto in that double pivot. And I'm hoping and praying we do not see him in that Gusto in that double pivot again. I just think it was such a shocking performance, if I'm being brutally honest. Now, when it does come to that double pivot, I think we're going to have Caicedo in there if he's ready to go, which, I've heard nothing to suggest he isn't. And then this second side, we could see the likes of Andre Santos. We could see the likes of Romeo Lavia. We could see the likes of Enzo Fernandez. Now, Enzo may or may not be ready, so I'm going to put Romeo Lavia in there because I would love to see a defensive pairing of Lavia and Caicedo. Those two together are unbelievable. And that'd be really interesting to see. Now, on the left-hand side, a lot of fans was calling out for Jamie Gittins against Nottingham Forest because of how poor Garnacho was. He couldn't quite get into the game. I feel like this game is going to be very, very different because Ajax, regardless of who they're facing, try to play their football in their DNA, their style of play. That's what they always try and do. So I feel like there could be an opportunity here where we see Garnacho start again. We could also see Gittins as well. Obviously, it's one of those things. But I think Garnacho will be starting on that left-hand side. I think it was unfair. Not unfair, but it was one of those games where we just couldn't get into it. So playing against a 5-back is very difficult for a winger because you have very limited space, and most of the times it's 2v1s. You need a moment of magic. You need to be able to beat your man. So, we could see Gittins in that situation, but I don't think Ajax is going to be playing 5 at the back. So I think Garnacho will start. When it comes to that number 10 role, we could see Enzo Fernandez play there if he's ready. We could see Buonanotte play there. We could even see Andre Santos playing that 10. I personally wasn't a fan of him in the 10. I feel like he plays better sitting deep. And the bonus with Lavia playing or starting is you can always take him off at half-time and give Santos the minutes in that second half, or vice versa. So they're both playing some minutes. So I'm actually going to go Buonanotte because we haven't seen him. Didn't see him against Forest. I thought we would see him in that 10. We're going to go with Buonanotte in the number 10 role, and then Pedro Neto on the right. Now, I know a lot of people are screaming out for Esteval to play, and I feel like he will definitely get minutes. So you could see Esteval playing in that 10, Neto on the right, at least potentially. But I feel like to start the game, Buonanotte, he's been very impressive from the minutes I've seen him play. I know Enzo's highlighted his physicality. I keep going back to this, but it is improving every time I see him get minutes. He's just a very technically gifted player. Now, when it comes to the number 9, for me, it has to be Marc Guiu. Has to be Marc Guiu. Don't be playing Tyreek George as a 9. He is a winger. So if you're going to play him on the left. If not, give Marc Guiu the opportunity. He's hungry. He presses like a bulldog. And we know how good he is. He made such an impact against Forest. So I'd like to see him get a start against Ajax at home in the Champions League. It would be a big opportunity for him. So yeah, that is the starting 11 that I would choose, the predicted 11 that I would choose against Ajax tomorrow night. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding this. Do you agree with the lineup? Do you disagree? Who would you play instead? Players in different positions, different players altogether. I'm very curious to know your thoughts. And that's the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one. And I mean that. You're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail to enjoy that video too.